Emma Wells clutched her invitation nervously as she stepped into the glittering ballroom of the Grand Meridian Hotel. The chandeliers sparkled like stars, and the room buzzed with confident laughter, designer gowns, and tailored suits. As the newest intern at Sterling Enterprises, Emma had been invited last minute to the company's annual charity gala, a dazzling event way outside her comfort zone. Shy, soft-spoken, and more comfortable behind a screen than in a crowd, Emma had barely survived her first week in the office. Her supervisor had told her simply, try to network, don't spill anything, and stay out of trouble. With trembling hands, she adjusted her thrift store navy dress and scanned the sea of unfamiliar faces. Her manager hadn't arrived yet, and no one seemed to be paying her any attention. At the center of the room, a polished table with reserved cards haphazardly placed caught her eye. Some of the place cards had fallen over, and she assumed the reservation had been cancelled or mismanaged. Desperate to escape the feeling of floating awkwardly with no anchor, Emma sat down quietly at the empty table, hoping no one would notice. Moments later, a man in a dark tailored suit slid into the seat beside her. Tall, composed, and radiating quiet authority, he gave her a brief, unreadable smile. "Big night, huh?" he said casually. Emma stiffened, then nodded, unsure if she should even be sitting there. "Yeah," she replied, then added in a whisper, "I just hope the speeches aren't too long." He chuckled, and she felt a flicker of relief. Feeling oddly emboldened, she leaned closer and said, "I heard the CEO might talk. I hope it's not that Grayson guy, everyone's terrified of him." She gave a nervous laugh. "He sounds like the villain in a business movie." The man raised an eyebrow, the edge of his mouth twitching. "Interesting take," he said. "What makes you say that?" Emma shrugged. "Cold. Ruthless. No humor. Definitely not the guy you want running into at the coffee machine." The man just nodded, sipping his wine slowly. "Noted." His tone was calm but vaguely amused. Emma smiled awkwardly, unaware of the tidal wave her words had just set in motion. Emma's laughter faded the moment a woman in a sharp black dress hurried to the table, eyes wide with horror. It was her supervisor, Ms. Dalton. "Emma," she hissed, her voice strained. "What are you doing here? This is the VIP table, get up, now." Emma blinked in confusion, heart thudding. She turned toward the man beside her, who remained calmly seated, sipping his wine like nothing was wrong. I thought it was just a regular table," Emma stammered, her face heating with shame. But before her supervisor could drag her away, the ballroom lights dimmed and the event host took the stage. "Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us tonight. Please rise as we welcome the CEO of Sterling Enterprises, Mr. Nathaniel Grayson." Emma froze. Her brain couldn't process what she had just heard. Her eyes darted to the man beside her, tall, composed, sipping his wine. The very same man she had just trashed in casual conversation. He stood up slowly, buttoning his jacket, then walked toward the stage under the spotlight as applause thundered through the room. Emma sat motionless, completely mortified. Her earlier words rang in her ears like a siren, cold, ruthless, villain in a business movie. He was Nathaniel Grayson. Emma's stomach dropped to the floor. How could she have been so stupid? Her boss, the man everyone in the company whispered about with awe and fear, had been sitting next to her the whole time, listening as she roasted him without restraint. She considered bolting for the door, but her legs felt like jelly. Her eyes dropped to the table, cheeks flaming. Nathaniel's speech was calm and confident, delivered with warmth and a surprising touch of humor. He even thanked the interns in the audience, his eyes flicking momentarily toward her table. When he returned and took his seat, he leaned over slightly and whispered with a smirk, "Don't worry, I don't bite. But I do remember everything." Emma wanted the floor to open and swallow her whole. She had come to blend in and go unnoticed. Instead, she had insulted the CEO to his face, and he hadn't just noticed her. He would never forget her. Emma braced for disaster the following Monday. She walked into the office expecting a pink slip, or at the very least, a cold reprimand. But nothing happened. Her supervisor didn't mention the gala, and no HR representative appeared at her desk. It was as if the earth-shattering moment had never occurred, until a courier delivered a steaming cup of coffee and a note written in elegant, looping script, "Since we agree terrible bosses deserve better coffee. NG." Emma stared at the cup, then the note, her heart racing. He remembered. He wasn't mad. That simple gesture shifted everything. Over the next week, Emma began noticing Nathaniel more, though, to her confusion, he seemed to appear wherever she was. Once, she found him in the intern break room, casually asking questions about her charity proposal. Another time, they shared an elevator ride where he said nothing at first, then glanced at her and said, "So, still think I'm cold and ruthless?" She flushed, stammering, but he only chuckled. It wasn't teasing in a cruel way, it was playful, curious. Slowly, the awkwardness faded. When Nathaniel personally invited her to assist with a new community outreach initiative, she couldn't believe it. It wasn't a vanity project, he was genuinely invested in helping underprivileged youth. They worked side by side for hours, brainstorming, revising proposals, and sharing quiet late-night conversations over takeout. Emma discovered a version of Nathaniel no one seemed to know, thoughtful, witty, and quietly passionate about making a difference. He never mentioned the gala again, but the tension between them grew more complicated with every shared glance and unspoken moment. One night, after a long strategy meeting, Emma hesitated before leaving. "Why me?" she finally asked, turning to him. "Out of all the interns, why did you pick me to work on this?" Nathaniel paused, folding his hands. "Because you weren't trying to impress me," he said simply. "You were just being yourself. Honest, awkward, and a little bold. It's rare." He smiled softly, almost vulnerable for the first time. "And I liked it." Emma felt her heart skip. Maybe that embarrassing night hadn't ruined everything after all. Maybe, just maybe, it had been the beginning of something entirely unexpected. 1 year later, Emma walked into the same ballroom, but this time, she wasn't the nervous intern clinging to the shadows. She was now the project manager of Sterling Enterprises' fastest-growing social initiative, handpicked by the CEO himself. Gone were the second-hand dresses and anxious glances, she wore a sleek gown that matched her quiet confidence. The room still shimmered with crystal chandeliers and polished elites, but Emma no longer felt like an outsider. She belonged. At the center of the room sat the same VIP table she had mistakenly joined a year ago. But this time, a name card with gold lettering read Emma Wells. As she approached, Nathaniel Grayson stood and pulled out her chair with a warm smile. "Right where you're supposed to be," he said gently. The other executives raised their glasses in greeting, no longer strangers, but colleagues who respected her work and reputation. The evening unfolded in elegance and celebration. When it came time for speeches, Nathaniel took the stage again, charming the crowd with stories of the company's growth and community impact. Then he paused, scanning the room before continuing. "Last year, an intern accidentally sat at this very table. She didn't know who I was and, well, let's just say, she was very honest about her opinions of the CEO." Laughter rippled across the ballroom as Emma's cheeks flushed, though she smiled through it. "But that moment changed something," Nathaniel went on. "Her honesty reminded me of something I'd forgotten, how refreshing it is to be seen without the title or the power. She challenged me in the best way. And now, she's one of the most important minds behind our company's outreach programs." He raised his glass toward Emma, and the room followed. The applause felt like thunder. Later, under the soft lights and quiet music, Nathaniel found her again. "Still think I'm cold and impossible?" he asked with a teasing glint in his eye. Emma chuckled, her hand brushing against his. "Only until I realized you were just a man hiding behind a CEO's mask." He leaned in, voice soft. "And you're the woman who made me take it off." As the night faded into stars, the once shy intern danced in the arms of the man who had once been her boss, and now, maybe something more.